Hey there. I've had on my to-do list to talk about troubleshooting when the ketone ester doesn't work for someone, and I figured I'd just do it in the form of a YouTube live while my kids are ice skating in the background. So I think right over there, if you see any of them wipe out, please let me know via chat if I need to go rescue them. So I wanted to do a video. I did a video before on some examples where the ketone ester didn't work for sports performance, and it was mainly surrounding not following the protocol correctly, taking it at the wrong time, blood sugar crashed, stuff like that. But now I want to talk about just general use and microdosing. Microdosing is what we call when you take 1/6 or 1/10 of a serving, so between $3 and $5 worth at a time. So there's three main reasons that ketone ester doesn't work, and I was talking to someone yesterday for about 20-30 minutes and just trying to figure it out, and then at the end of the phone conversation, right before I hung up, he said something about breakfast, and I said, what? So instead of so I want to preemptively talk about the three common mistakes so that you can see if that's on your list and maybe try it again. So number one is taking it with MCT oil. It's a no-no. Number two is taking too much, and then I'll talk about what happens then. And then number three is, what was the third one? Taking too much, MCT oil. Oh, taking it with food. So let's start with the with food. So for the ketone ester to work, especially the microdosing, it has to be on, let me see if I can hold this better with this hand. It has to be on an empty stomach. Now, technically you could do it with food, but then you'd have to take 3 to 4 times more. You really need an empty stomach with the ester, which is the opposite of what people do with MCT oil. So people might be used to the protocol with MCT oil, and they've been told, make sure you take it with food, otherwise you'll have GI issues and super pain. Not so with ketone ester. You want empty stomach. Now, how empty? Well, the more empty, the better, but not the extreme. You don't want to be doing it necessarily after 24 or 48 hours of empty stomach. But ideally, first thing in the morning after an overnight fast is the ideal amount, the ideal time, because your body just starts making ketones because you've been fasting overnight, and then you add the ester, empty stomach. It's a great recipe for your numbers to go up, but also to be able to feel it, have it go to the brain and stuff like that. So, but ideally, 3 hours, 2 hours if you can't, but the longer you wait, the more effective it is. But 2 to 3 hours should be fine. You can start with 3 and then cut back to 2, and you tell me whether it's the same for you. So empty stomach is the key. And some people have found that they actually feel it and notice it even more with the same quantity between lunch and dinner on an empty stomach. And the theory there is when you take it first thing in the morning, half of it might be going to your body as a food source because you're hungry, and then the other half can go to the brain or your muscles. Whereas between lunch and dinner, some people find it more effective because they say that they've already eaten, so that the body is already satiated, it's not hungry. So then the ketones with an empty stomach, the rest of it can just go to where it needs to go, as opposed to helping fuel the body's general food source. So try different ways, see what works for you. Some people prefer between lunch and dinner. Some people will do both, and they might do 10 or 15 in the morning and then do 5 or 10 between lunch and dinner, so a smaller amount. Some people do the same amount, but some people will go down because it does have a little bit of a cumulative effect from your morning intake, and because your body's already fueled. So the second thing, MCT oil. I don't care what papers you read. I mean, you can prove me wrong. Go ahead, do it. I don't care what papers you read on mice that might have tested MCT oil, specifically the C8. So MCT means medium chain triglycerides. It's a type of coconut oil, super concentrated, but there's technically 3 or 4 that qualify as MCT. The lower the number, like C8, is stronger. It actually can make ketones, but specifically the C8, but even in general MCT, the C8 will compete, we suspect, competes with the ester, and it will, let me press this button, I've got this thing on my screen. So hopefully this is all not crooked and all sideways, but With the MCT oil, the C8, we've had people report even 4 hours apart taking the ester and the C8 that it gave them GI issues that they normally get just when they have too much C8. And the theory there is that that half of the ketone ester, the 1,3-butane part, goes through the liver to create more ketones. Well, that's what the C8 does as well, but the 1,3-butane is about 10 times stronger, so you have this blockage of the C8 that only 10% of it makes ketones, being interfering with the ester that is more efficient at making ketones. So in mice, it might work in mice. I don't know if they're using the C8 or the weaker kind, but the mice also aren't going to report. I don't think they know how to report GI problems and stomach pains. But we've had multiple people say, regardless of the order, whether it's ester first or whether it's MCT oil, just not good to mix. Now, if you want to do a bulletproof coffee in the morning and then between lunch and dinner the ester, I think that would be fine. But don't mix them together. What studies show. Now, I have had 1 or 2 reports that liquid coconut oil, just a small amount, like a teaspoon, alongside the ester has worked. So that's a little bit different. They actually prefer it. Some people can play with that and report back to me. We have a Facebook group where people actually do their own experiments and report, and that's where we've found out about the C8 not mixing. So report back to us if that works for you. So the last one is taking too much. So taking too much, we've had people take this one gentleman, he was loving it, and finally a week later his wife was noticing some differences in him and how he was waking up and this and that, so she decided to take 10 mLs. And then he reported back to me saying, no, she didn't like it, it made her tired and this and that. And I said, take less, cut it in half. So they went from 10 down to 5. If you take too much, it can drop, and for some people, everyone's different. Some people 10 mLs, 1/6 of a serving, so $5 worth is too much. So if your body's more sensitive, and if you're one of those people that just is sensitive to things in general, right out of the bat to take half. But it will drop people's blood sugar. It can drop people's blood sugar too much. And what happens when you drop blood sugar? You get hungry, you feel tired, you get like a spike and a crash, and you might feel even lightheaded. So those are all signs that you've taken too much. So you can drop down to 5 or even 7. So that's it. Taking too much. And also with workouts, if you're taking too much in a workout, the tendency is always, take more. Well, you can take more with a workout if you're more than the minimum, the 5 and 10 mLs, because your body is immediately using the fuel source. So it is different to take the drink and then go on a computer and your energy, your body's not using up the energy. So working out, people often do increases to 10 or 15, and then sometimes 20. But if you take too much in the workout and you don't do the dual fuel protocol where you're taking both ester and glucose, some people will feel flat in their workouts and be scratching their head saying, hey, why did I not have that explosion? And that again is blood sugar. Your blood sugar dropped down too much. So cut back the amount or put in a little bit of carbs. But this drink was designed for non-keto people. So we have to just dispel the myth that this is only for keto people. But it just happens to be that 90% of the people that are buying it aren't keto people. But I know the keto people aren't going to want to add some glucose. But we have all the protocols online. Once you've ordered, you get a link to the protocols that eventually might turn into a book. And so those are the 3 main troubleshoots. And if you have something else that isn't working for you, please just email me, frank@ketoneaid.com. Put in the subject line, troubleshooting request or didn't work for me question. Some good subject line, because I'm getting a lot of I get a lot of junk, just like everyone else gets a lot of spam. So it's hard to cut through that. So if you put something targeted like that, I'll know that you watched this video. All right, thanks a lot.